Hello and welcome to the HPTVPodcast, where we talk all things Harry Potter TV show coming to your screens in 2027. I'm Mitchell, here along with my siblings Jamie and Steven, and we have a packed news day. And you can follow us on socials at HPTVPod anywhere to keep up with what's going on, but we're going to break it down here and give more of our expanded thoughts on it as well. So first and foremost, casting. We got some minor characters, I would say. We figured some of these names would be floating out, and there's no small parts, only small actors. That's what I learned from Boy Meets World. The big one is Warwick Davis is set to reprise his role as Professor Flitwick. So we have someone playing the exact same character, and I don't like it. I want new faces. I mean, I don't get it. Which look are they gonna go with? Are they gonna look different? Is he going to act the same as he did before and have the same demeanor? Is he going to, because he's going to be given more to do? Maybe that's an advantage, that he's like, I actually get to act, because obviously very minimal actual lines. Same for Professor Sprout, who we'll talk about later. What do you guys think about Warwick, who is only 55, by the way? Jamie pointed this out to me. He's only 55, and that does kind of shock me, because these movies were done 25 years ago, but then he goes all the way back to Willow.
Yeah. That was my thought when they announced him. I was like, how old is he? And I know he was a child in Willow, but that just seems so long ago.
A long time ago. Yeah. Well, that movie came out. Were any of us born yet? What year did Willow come out?
I'm looking right now, because I might be. Oh, is the year I was born, 1988. So I guess that makes sense.
So I was 2.
Well, I've been corrected on my British.
Very little.
It is Warwick Davis, not Warwick. So then, like, it's because there's actually a famous castle, and there's like Warwickshire. Like, a lot of times, it's just our mouths don't do that all the time. Like Warwickshire. But my British wife has corrected me.
Well,
Isn't that
in
handy?
America.
Well, I just think it's interesting because, like, in the books, it never specifies that he's a little person. I mean, I think it referred to him as being like short, right? But so I thought it was interesting that they would go with the exact same actor, but also like a little person both times. There's no variation.
I think it's supposed to be a little person.
Well, it's great to have roles for little people, like after, like,
and I think there would have been a big blow up if it had not been a little person, because
like all the Snow White stuff.
Yeah, so few roles for little people. And then so Mitchell brought that up before too, and I'm interested to see, because I follow a few creators, how the feeling on this is that he's kind of taking a role twice. And so that doesn't give someone else new and up and coming the opportunity. It's
kind of been said, like, there's like him, oh gosh, I just had his name in, who plays Tyrion Lannister. There's guy Vern Troyer who's done, like,
Peter Dinklage.
You see the same names. It's like, is there not, Peter Dinklage, thank you. Is there not another, specifically British little person, who could have had, and we do have another little person cast, and we'll talk about that in a minute, for Griphook, which, speaking of, are there not enough roles? He played both in the original series. So just interesting, they're bringing back the same person. This is making me think, we haven't talked about this in a while, that the castle is going to look very similar. They're going to have very similar set design. And I feel like they could do a different feeling.
I do think it's sweet that he's always talked really positively about Harry Potter, the time on the films, about the fans. He's done a lot of the cons and stuff, and he genuinely seems really excited about it. The picture of him that they put out with him by the train or whatever, I think is really sweet and exciting. Very. So I am happy to have someone who seems like passionate and like genuinely loves Harry Potter doing it, or at least loved his time on Harry Potter. And, get your check, man.
Yeah,
but give us a different
take. A little weird. Well, even in the original film series, though, like, they made him look so different for different movies that I don't think it would be that hard. For one, he's an actor, so he can play it differently, to a degree, give it a new feel for the new series. And then I think they can also just kind of, dress him differently and do different makeup, and so it can feel kind of like a new Professor Flitwick as compared to before. And I think it's definitely more kind of done with that for him than there is for a lot of the other professors, right? Where they're just kind of got some basic makeup and robes. So I think there's some wiggle room there, and I think it'll be interesting. But you're right that he really loves it, and so I don't think that I don't doubt that any of the other casts really love Harry Potter, but I think he's been the most the most visible so far of the casts currently
Well, like, yeah,
announced.
him and Tom Felton, like, they're showing up for, and the twins to some degree, they're doing the extra appearances. They're showing up at the theme parks. They're showing up to Kirst, like, they're really engaging with the fandom on all levels. Joe said something interesting today, obviously related to controversy, but she was just saying that someone major has again distanced themselves from her who was in Harry Potter, and she said someone else has done that who called her begging to try and get involved with the new series, and then once she wasn't, I don't know if she just didn't help, or it seems like she doesn't have that much input, then they turned on her and made a public statement against her. And I don't want to like theorize names, but when you think about the way people are engaging or not engaging with the fandom, it is interesting that they would try and stay close to something that is so big and take advantage of it for their career, and then when they wouldn't. So it's a balance.
Yeah. I do think that from what I understand, she has more veto power than she has like decision making power, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't know that she gets
Yeah.
to like say we should do this or that, but if they do something that's too extreme, I think she can knock it back down.
Well, yeah, and I think, yeah, that's her just saying, like, I'm not getting involved in the minutia. I'm not giving them names. And she has already said, because I'm sure there's going to be several of these actors who asked, they're going to say something very political, or they might just say, I blatantly disagree. And she's already said it's not my place then to try and remove them. And so, anyway, let's move on to some more casting. I'm going to list some of these off, and then maybe we'll go through them a little bit closer. At the head table in the Great Hall, there's going to be Serene Saba as Professor Pomona Sprout, Richard Durden as Professor Cuthbert Binns. We were saying today, like, we did not remember the word Cuthbert. And then the hospital wing will be staffed by Britt Brennan as Madame Pomfrey, who I think looks like the Poppy Pomfrey, looks like the original actress. And then outside of Hogwarts, we learned that Lee Gill will play a goblin and Gringotts employee Griphook. And then for students, Elijah Ocean is Harry's fellow Gryffindor Dean Thomas. Draco Malfoy got his cronies. Finn Stevens as Vincent Crabbe, and William Nash as Gregory Goyle. So they put all their headshots out and everything. But Jamie, starting with the adults, did any of them have any credits that popped out to you?
I won't say anything like huge. Lee Gill, who is playing Griphook, he did Joker. I think he's in both Jokers. He was in Fantastic Beasts.
He's at the Ministry, I believe, as it's like a bellhop in the elevators.
The elevator.
So
Yeah.
he's been
I
in the
think he
world.
was
He's
the
been in
one that
Game
put
of
the elevator.
Thrones, but he was like the one, obviously, besides Flitwick, who I recognize. He's done The Witcher.
He's a very familiar face. Yeah.
Yeah. Pomfrey. She was in Brooklyn. A lot of them come from a lot of like British TV. She was in Unforgotten, the TV series there. She was in Peaky Blinders for a couple episodes. Just things here and there. Richard Durden, who we were talking about how old he is. He's like 81 or something, he said much. He's been in Bridgerton. He was in the UK Ghosts, Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, he was like a first order officer. I like that. Like, he's just been in these bits, and a lot of these guys, they haven't even been series regulars. They just seem to be consistently working in British TV and doing a lot of stage. And I think that brings a lot of character, because if Professor Binns, who only really is in the first and second books, not that they need to add a history of magic class, although I think that would be really cool if they did a key bit of plot through a history of magic class in like 5, 6, or 7. If he was just there at the head table or something, I think that would go a long way in like holding some continuity and having what we need. Why not pop him on set for a day? I'm sure it can't be that expensive.
And I think it's nice for people to kind of recognize people. There's like a comfort to that without having them cast as something else in their minds completely. But a lot of good character actors.
What we talked about before, though, is like early on, right, when we knew nothing about casting and stuff, was just like the different directions they could take, right? Because you have bigger actors who, one, like their schedules are very crazy, right? And it'd be hard for them to commit to a long-term thing. So in that sense, it makes sense to get kind of, lesser known actors who maybe are also probably much less costly. I'm sure that they're able to, pay them less because they're not as famous. But I'm sure they also just have freer schedules. So they're able to kind of come when they need to be on set. And then many of these smaller parts, right? It's not going to be a huge commitment each year, but they'll have to probably schedule other things around this, right? And prioritize it. So I think kind of giving those folks like a big job, like, being in the new Harry Potter series, probably allows them to flex some of that to make them prioritize.
Everyone's always looking for their breakout for their whole life. There's career actors who might be recognizable faces that are not necessarily famous or rich, so it's always like a boon to get that moment. I just looked up all the kids and I cannot find any credits for any of them, so I could be wrong on that, but we've seen that in and out as far as the kid casting so far. It looks like our Crab, Goyle, and Dean are pretty original, and they all match the descriptions. They all look good, and yeah.
We talked about this before too. I'm again surprised at the lack of diversity in the other professors. I think we all really thought that maybe Sprout, Madame Pomfrey would be a person of color of some sort. Like, I don't know. Again, why are we not making that decision to add more diversity cast? I don't know if it like backfired too much because of Snape.
I wonder
but
if
now
it scared them off of it. Yeah. Now it's odd that it's only one. Yeah.
Yes. Now it's even worse to me that it's just one. We have one bad guy essentially at the view of it, and that is the one person who looks at all different than everyone.
Look, well, they said if you're going to go full book accurate, then fair. Like J.K. Rowling wrote it pretty white. Britain's a little bit more white than people think. I think I live in London, so I don't actually see that. But it's interesting. Yeah, they couldn't have picked, more South Asian characters, which is a big ethnic minority here. Like, not more mixed characters. Like, they could have picked their spots and still had a balance. Like, it's not like they needed every casting announcement to have one that was switched, or have X amount that were going to be different from the books or different from the films for those that weren't specified. But yeah, it does make it interesting, if it was the right amount and maybe characters where it had less effect, but obviously then it would also be a character that is less visible. Snape is a very visible character.
Yeah.
And so it's a fine balance. And again, none of that casting was ever going to, dramatically turn me off, as Snape hasn't. But then, yeah, it's odd that that's been the only one.
And I wonder also if it scared people off a little bit. I don't think so, because I think people would take the opportunity just because it's a huge opportunity. But there was such backlash for Papacito. Like, he had to shut down his Instagram for a little while and things like that. So maybe people just don't want to deal with that, and not as many people.
Well, I think it goes beyond Harry Potter and, Snape and stuff too, though. There's been kind of there was a big expansion, I feel like, into very diverse casting, and then there's been some backlash to that. So I think they're trying to kind of balance it.
Yeah.
But I mean, just Google in here. I mean, this says that the population of England and Wales is 81.7% white, right? People who self-identify as white. So if we're looking at, hey, if this is meant to be representative of all of the UK, then having only a handful of folks who are not white kind of fits.
And look,
but
I've never been one who said, I don't think you should have like, okay, this is the population, so X amount should be that ethnicity. No, because I think the arts have always been about representation, and maybe like if you're a minority, you get to see more than you normally would. And so I think, again, it was all about balance and picking your spot. So I'm not someone who says 8 out of these 10 characters need to be white. Absolutely. I think that's stupid. But it is to say that when J.K. Rowling wrote it, I don't think she had any negative intent. Like, that is just the vision of a British boarding school that she had.
Just the reality.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an approach, right? So they can, I think there's also ways to justify what they're doing on either front, right? And I think that's the hardest part nowadays, is that you don't want to split your audience, right? So that you have half of, whatever demographic ticked off at you and boycotting your show. And so you have to be able to find a way to kind of please everyone and focus on the story.
It's not a game to be like, there's not a winning situation, to be fair. I think you just have to do your best to be good storytellers. Did you guys have any last thoughts on our 6 new pieces of casting as filming is, really full go?
I think it's kind of cool or interesting that they've been able to keep all of this quiet for so long. At the very beginning, there was like, oh, there's rumors this person's been cast. And I think the only one that was really correct about was Snape. I'm like, good on them for being able to keep this all secret. But it's just always exciting that they're rounding things out. That Professor Binns is even going to be in the show because he's not in the books. Like, it just gets you excited because there's those things.
You mean he's not in the movies?
He's not in the movies, sorry. Because he's not in the movies, but he is.
No, but you're right. Actually, I think they did shoot something for the movies, or I know they did with Peeves, maybe Binns, maybe not. But I think it's nice that they're filling it in, and you got to think there's more there, because if they're shooting with Dean, they're probably shooting with Seamus, and we don't. Or do we have a Seamus? Am I crazy? But
I think
there's definitely
yeah,
some some names and some people, and everyone said that they might have gotten a big name for Voldemort, and that's actually being kept under wraps, which is impressive because a lot of
Yeah.
this stuff does leak.
I do think we should we'll do a TikTok with every cast member so we can because
Yeah.
we've been talking about bits and pieces, but to see like the full this
I've
is
seen
everyone we
some
have.
charts, and I think we can put it in a really nice way that will look really good. And yeah, people seem to like the casting TikToks. We like, obviously there's been controversy and discussion on those, but it seems to be that's what people like to talk about. That was obviously a big thing in the Reddit, was just fan casting, which was always fun, and we still see those like for Gilderoy Lockhart and everyone coming up anyway.
There's a lot more to come.
Sirius and Lupin, I feel like people are going to go gaga, and I think they're going to want a big character for one of those two, a big actor. All right, let's talk about a few of the other headlines that came out. So today is officially Back to Hogwarts Day. So when you're hearing this, like, this will have emanated a little bit, but hopefully it's fun to dive into. So September 1st, of course, today, Hogwarts Express leaves from platform 9 3/4 back up to Scotland and the mystery location of Hogwarts. You gotta think it's colder up there than we think. Anyway, The Wizards of Baking is back for season 2. Did you guys watch season 1?
I watched the first episode. I just don't have a ton of time to watch as much as I used to. And it was cute and it was fun to see the Phelps hosting, and they're fun. It was a little over stylized for a baking show.
It was a little bit forced, was I think the only thing.
Yeah.
It felt a little like, okay, you don't have to reference Harry Potter like every other line. Like we can just, talk about
they put the puns in. I mean, a lot of these baking shows around the holidays, which is funny because they shoot them in the summer. It feels so fake. Like Netflix always has a couple, and they did like a holiday version of Is It Cake, and it's overdone. But the Phelps twins, there's this famous clip where someone asks if they're really twins, and they say, "Oh no, we met at auditions," and it is hilarious. But now every time people talk about the new twins, they're like, "And did you know they only met at auditions?" And it's almost funny every time.
And then there's always someone who doesn't know that, and they're like, "What are you talking about? They're really twins." It's like,
I can never tell if people are being facetious or if they're like actually just read something sometime and they don't really know the true story, but hard to tell. A lot of sarcasm on the internet, turns out.
So that will be back on the Food Network and HBO Max, and it's a fun, Christmassy vibe. And the Phelps twins. So good for them. Keep it on. They've had like a food shit podcast. They've not necessarily been acting, but they've kind of tried to stay public personas. Next up, there was a behind-the-scene glimpse of the full cast audio editions, and it gave you some of that background audio. It feels like you're going to have a really full immersive experience, which that's how they described it before, but it seems like there's going to be literal sound quite consistently throughout this. And we got a few more glimpses of we got a few more lines here and there, and then we got some big casting news. So Mark Addy, who is from... I know he's most famous for Game of Thrones and playing Robert Baratheon, but to me, he will always be from A Knight's Tale. Yeah. He'll be Rubius Hagrid. Daniel Mays, who's kind of having a moment right now, will be Dobby. Alex Hassel, who I don't think I've heard of, is Lucius Malfoy. They did the Patel twins are cast as well. Sarah and Avni Deshmukh. I did not look up pronunciation for that, so apologies that I probably butchered that. But yeah, 4th of November, that's kind of coming up quick.
I'm so excited for that. I'm a little... more excited for that. I got a little teary-eyed hearing some of the lines spoken, especially for our Harry Potter journey. The audiobooks have been such a big part of that, and I love graphic audios and just like the radio plays, which reminds me of like we'd be on road trips with my dad, and I would listen to those. So just in a lot of nostalgic ways, I'm really excited, and the performances from those little clips sound so good. I'm really excited for that. I've already pre-ordered.
Nice. Well, I'm really curious. I pre-ordered the first 3. Yeah. I decided not to go all the way to the end.
Well, I gotta line out my
Audible
credits.
Points,
Yeah, you gotta use the credits.
They've been trying to get me to do another free trial for ages, and this might just do it. I just don't have enough time to listen to audiobooks, so I haven't had Audible in a while, but I'm very pro.
From what I was looking up before, though, about this cast is, I understood that all of the casts were finalized earlier in 2025, and they're actually completing recording already.
Yeah,
so it is interesting that we're getting new names, but it's just ones that haven't been publicized yet. It's not like they were just cast or anything. So I kind of want them to just tell us everybody already. Quit holding back on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of big names still not out there. And I'm telling you what, if they didn't get Jim Dale and Stephen Fry, I'm going to be really annoyed. If they didn't get them to do just something.
Just the intro.
Got to do something in there, yeah.
In other Harry Potter audio news, we have some more competition. I mean, I swear every other week on TikTok or Instagram, I see another Harry Potter podcast show up. But we are the original Harry Potter TV show podcast, okay? There were some before us, but not about this. It seems to be it's going to be based on the films. It's going to be marking 25 years from the first Harry Potter film. So to me, best case scenario, we are talking with real behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, I'm sure there's some actor stories, but I want to hear from the real filmmaking elements of it. But they tease that it's 25 years in the making, and so it's the hosts looking back at the films. This makes me think we're getting Tom Felton and the Phelps twins, just because again they've been the most involved. But yeah, it is. They've got like this little image with a bunch of Harry Potter stuff and a recording sign, and I'm a little annoyed they didn't call me, but it's fine.
I think this will be something that possibly would translate into a show podcast. Like, if this does well, it might, because HBO likes to do that. They like to do the accompanying podcast, and they like to be on top of that because before other podcasts like were making good money off of Game of Thrones and stuff, so that's why they started their own. But it will be fun if they do get like actual actors and we get behind the scenes stuff. And I think this will help. A lot of people are very nostalgic about the films, and that's really a tough spot for people. So I'm hoping that this kind of could fill that in for people and give them something a little more for the movie lovers out there, which is just, it's wild to me that people love the movie so much and have not read the books.
Yeah,
But,
it's
whatever.
the books.
They don't know what they're
the books
missing.
are the masterpiece, and that's why like this is specific. But if they did, the problem with these podcasts is that they're too corporate. I think the best ones have been like It's Always Sunny guys, The Good Place, like people about comedies, because like Jason Concepcion, who is part of Binge Mode, who I love, he did the official House of the Dragon one. He did the one for Foundation on Apple, and he's restrained. Like, it's quite a different vibe. It has to be corporate to some degree, and especially with this one, when you get them breaking it down, and they always have like, it is cool because you get to hear usually from an actor or maybe even whoever did the score, the production, like but in the end, I'm never going to be as interested as I'm going to be about people who are having interesting, insightful discussion, especially when there's theorizing to do, which there isn't really on this one. But I can't see that being immense. But if HBO keeps doing it, then they must be successful enough to be worth organizing. But I'm very curious if this will carry on and talk about the TV show itself.
I think it depends on how popular it is, and I'm going to listen no matter what, especially revisiting the films and stuff and going through it. I'm not going to like religiously listen, but I want to pop in and out. It isn't going to be criticizing. It's not going to be like our rewatch of the movies where we're like, they shouldn't have done this. This was over the top. Why was this decision made? It's probably not going to be like that because it's going to want to put everything in a good light.
But it's not that I want them to be critical. It's just more that you're never going to be the most interesting way to examine it. But you will get the better behind the scenes stories, but they will be watered down. Like, we're not going to get the time that they did crack together behind the castle.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to make money off of an additional podcast, but they also don't want to. They want it to, in a way, be like advertising, right? Get everyone to go back to watch the movies again, rent them on streaming, and all that kind of stuff, right? Get more people to take out their HBO Max subscriptions early before the show actually starts so they can start watching the movies and follow along with the podcast. But you're right. They're not going to say anything, really negative. It's going to be very interesting, I think, because they'll, like you said, have access to so many different things that we don't. But it will be interesting to see because I don't think that they can be as honest about stuff as people on the outside can be.
I do want to put out to HBO that we are open and available for a TV show official podcast. We're not, and we will do that. We will be corporate.
We will sell
out like you wouldn't believe.
But if that doesn't happen, I want the listeners to know here that we will be able to give a different point of view than whatever that might.
And by the way, we're not going in to be negative. We're being real. And even if I had to host something specific, I think there's an insightful way to really look at a product without having to be critical of it while be giving an interesting take. So,
and I don't even mean critical. I guess that sounded wrong, but like giving.
No, you didn't say critical. You said a different perspective. I said
adding, just adding more depth to it.
Well, I think we have a unique perspective. We're like fans, and we have been for a very long time. And I think if the show is awesome, we're going to be all for, touting how awesome it is. But if there's shortcomings and things that disappoint us, I think we'll talk about that too, right? And
we'll generally be, the biggest cheerleaders. And also, like, we're going to tell it like it is.
And I hope if this is at all, if there are fans in any way, like even if they're professionals who were once fans or, read Harry Potter, like Jason, if he was on this podcast or whatever, great. I wouldn't love the idea of like, all the people, I love these TikToks, I love these podcasts of people just now reading the books because we all want to relive it through them. That's I'm looking for people who have been living this journey since they were like 10 years old. Like, that's who I want to hear from. And the actors from the films, like people heavily involved for like years. I want that passion.
That's what make it interesting. You're right.
Continuing on, next year, because it's the 25th anniversary, there is more to come. That's funny that is just what they tout as like, we'll be celebrating all year long, but don't actually say what that means. Also, I like that in all their official stuff, it has Harry Potter and the Philosopher's / Sorcerer's Stone. Which that's interesting because they're gonna have to market that first season. I'm gonna see Philosopher's Stone everywhere here. I'll send you guys a picture of the double-decker bus with Philosopher's Stone on it.
And
they're just gonna like pick one and own it though. I would like for them to just pick one and own it. Keep splitting it. It just gets weird. Like
just
20
go by
years,
I think the
25
art-
Stone
on.
now. Just make it the
Philosopher's
Philosopher's Stone.
I think
Get it.
the U.S. audience is too ingrained in that mainstream bit of the people who don't
think
really
so now?
care.
But it comes from a place of like thinking that we're too dumb to not be able to process what Philosopher's Stone meant, which is really annoying. But at the same time, yeah, it is what it is. But for the big 25 is probably when we'll get the teaser trailer that we've been talking about. So in a year from now, guys.
A year from now,
So
we'll get
far
some sort of
away.
glimpse. Well, they're kind of avoiding committing to anything. Like, there's a lot of vagueness in the way that they put things out there. Like, will it have a weird, interesting subtitle? What will the typeface be? Anyway,
There'll be something. That's what they're telling us.
They gotta do. It's just so disappointing that we gotta wait till 2020. Like, can they just get the first episode done? Just get the first episode done. Release that on September 1st next year, and then we can wait until January for the rest. I
No,
think
that would be
just
awful.
they do seem to. Everyone's always disappointed they don't do anything on Harry's birthday. They do seem to really care about this September 1st date. There was a live YouTube stream that came on afterwards. I kind of forgot, and then I saw the stuff pop up on Twitter, and I went and watched the stream. And there used to be gatherings and things going on September 1st, so it's interesting.
What was this that they didn't do the thing in King's Cross this year? Do you know?
So
did
they
you hear
don't
anything
do
about
it
why
anymore.
They decided not to?
They didn't do it last year either. They just said it is of course, a working train station, a very, very busy one. And so they've kind of shut it down the last couple of years. They used to put it on the board as one of the destinations, and people would gather and do a thing. And I think some people tried to do it last year. This year obviously was on the heels of filming, which is quite funny. But yeah, nothing allowed, which interestingly, actually, at Grand Central Station in New York last year, there was a Harry Potter exhibition going. And in this video about the Back to Hogwarts and the 25th anniversary, they incorporated the new Harry Potter Experience store in Chicago. They incorporated the Harry Potter Studio Tour in Tokyo. So it was interesting that they were they are really looking at the wizarding world as these different entertainment experiences are all cash cows for them.
Well, and I will say, all these things have always been going on. Like the New York store went up last year, right? Like these things have been popping up, but we've never really had like, this is everything and we're owning this as the wizarding world. Like normally it's very compartmentalized and it's like, okay, who's doing this? It just is interesting. I think that there's kind of this big push of like, people still love Harry Potter. People are united on this. There's examples all over the world of where it's still going strong. And I think that means like that they're really trying to be like, we believe the show is going to do well. We think all these things are going to do it because people are still passionate, even though there's all this discord about J.K. Rowling and everything else, obviously, that has come to pass the last 10 years.
Well, we've been talking about that. So my wife, because lately, there's been all this merch popping up and stuff. Like there was a real like quiet period for a few years where I feel like you couldn't even find stuff in stores anymore that was Harry Potter themed, unless you're, at or near the theme parks. But there's been, we went to Aldi yesterday to try and find some stuff. I can show you guys this.
Well, and isn't
They
this
have
the
some water
biggest,
bottles.
the most you guys have ever heard about Back to Hogwarts?
Yeah.
Like we know about stuff that happens.
Nice,
Show that water bottle,
Steve-O.
Steven. Was that a Patronus?
So
On the
this
back?
one's a Hogwarts one. It's got the houses on the back. I just got these yesterday, so I haven't even put them really.
I wish
And
we had
then
a
this
whole
one
thing.
is Expecto Patronum, which is pretty cool. And they had like these, hold on, I think I have one more. Yeah, here's a Gryffindor one. And it's like Quidditch themed. You got Harry Potter and his number on the back.
That's cute.
But they had like the similar, so there's like 4 or 5 different designs. And then they also had these, it's like a throw, like the really soft fuzzy ones, but they are like hooded. And so, but they only had like the red Gryffindor one. And so I really wanted the Expected Patronum one. It looks really cool as a throw. But I keep wanting to go to all these stores like this and like pick up this stuff. And my wife is like, what is going on? Why are they having like so much
because it was so
merch and the Krispy
rare.
Kreme stuff now? Well, exactly. But I think
Remember,
it's
like-
also, and Well, you're talking about, I think it's also just like preparing people for the show, right? It's building that audience back up, getting all those people like to touch on
Getting
the
back into the
nostalgia movie, like,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, people who
But
aren't
it's
like
almost
us
too
who are
much.
constantly talking about it. They like, it reminds them like, oh yeah, I liked that when I was a kid. And then they start looking up, oh, there's a show coming. Like, I think they're doing it ahead of time to like rebuild that fan base with all of this. And I mean, there's obviously a lot of money to be made, but I think that that's their way of kind of guaranteeing we're going to have a large audience season 1 when this thing kicks off.
So I feel like the cycle was like, remember way back, we could only like there was like a Warner Brothers shop in our mall, and that's the only place you could find Harry Potter stuff. And this is like when the books were out, the movies were being made, and then even when the movies came out, there wasn't a ton of merch. Like then the like Monopoly game and Clue and stuff like that, and then it kind of died out. But then I swear, when the amusement parks opened and they realized how crazy people went for the merch, and then
Yeah.
it started getting huge on Etsy, and then we started seeing it in Walmart more, and then now it's just like as a Harry Potter nerd that a lot of people I only identify me as a Harry Potter nerd. There's a lot more to me, people. People send me pictures every time they see something, and I'm like, okay, I'm at the point where like, okay, you're gonna see it everywhere. You don't have to see it. But
Like,
some of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I do love that.
I felt like it had a
Unless you're going to
presence.
buy it for me,
But yeah.
don't bother
exactly.
sending the picture. I can't
It
afford it.
definitely went up and down. I remember the merch actually when the park opened, I thought was pretty mediocre. I think they've come a long way
Yes.
in better merch. And also, I always thought there should be a Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit, and I think there is now, but it took so long that I'm not even interested anymore. But yeah, why haven't they been licensing with Hasbro forever? All right.
You guys remember Seen It? Remember when we had the Harry Potter version of Seen
that
It?
was so
I
good.
still
Whatever
have
happened to that?
like
Why don't they have like a streaming version of Seen It? That would be awesome.
Jamie, do you still have my Quidditch game and my like Harry Potter Clue?
the Quidditch game. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure Under the Stairs is the clue. I'm gonna have to go look. And there was like a Monopoly something. There was another one. So yeah, and I see some of those still at the store with the original cast, and I wonder how that's all gonna change.
Well, yeah, they made some lame stuff with the movies just to cash grab.
They pushed things out so fast that it was just, and we bought it also.
Well,
Well,
they just made versions of all the games, like you said, right? Like my kids had a version of the game Trouble, where you push the little bulb with the dice inside of it. That was Harry Potter themed and stuff, and they loved that until they lost all the pieces. But like, yeah, they're just like, oh yeah, we'll duplicate anything, just sell it for an extra $5 because it's Harry Potter themed.
Well, like I had Harry Potter Clue.
Yeah.
I remember because I wasn't a big video game,
so it worked.
but video game wise, I remember playing Quidditch World Cup and then Chamber of Secrets specifically, like the PlayStation game. They had some good stuff, and I keep seeing like the nostalgia stuff pop up on TikTok, but it's just interesting what they do and don't have. I will also say, weirdly, like 8 years ago, there's this game that came out called 8 years ago, might be done, called Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, which is a very intricate board/card game that I got really addicted to for like 2.5, 3 months. Never played it again, but it was good. And that to me was an interesting expansion on, but it was a play on the books. All right, let's get through some more of this anniversary news. Tom Felton is returning to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway on the 11th of November. Come to England. Come on, do this in London, brother.
Harry Potter now. Does he live in England?
I'm pretty sure he lives in LA.
New York,
I'm pretty sure. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is coming to the Netherlands, and the North American tour is set to begin and the actual headline is from Colorado to California. So Cursed Child is all over, and it's the 10th anniversary of the original.
No, that's not that far. Colorado, California is like
a chunk of the U.S. It's like just
2 states.
west. Like, they're not going anywhere else.
But yeah, they're really touting that it's the 10th anniversary of the original production. So nobody cares. Terrible show. No, I'm just kidding. I enjoyed it, but I hate the script.
Part of me really wants to go see it, but I'm also, not canon. So like,
it's coming here. I'm going to go if I can get tickets. It's going to happen.
Now,
but I'll be mad about it.
I'm curious if they're going to have to reduce down some of the really cool magic stuff on tour because, you're moving that set over and over again. The other thing, packed full of favorite story moments, the Pocket Potters is a brand new series of little guides to the Harry Potter stories. They look really cool, and I have a baby.
Love that stuff. I love that stuff. And it will align. We'll see how well it aligns with our character study series.
And it's original art, which I always like. Okay, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is getting a illustrated edition with paper craft, so like pop-up, 150 full color illustrations, so another one to add to the collection that I don't have any space for.
I just had number 1, I think.
I've never collected those ones. I need to start because it seems like the I've done the other ones, which was
The illustrated editions.
The illustrated edition,
Yeah.
which are kind of dwindling. We're really, I don't know. I think Half-Blood Prince.
I know they stopped at like 5. I think we just need the last 2.
But they say that it's coming eventually, Half-Blood Prince. I don't know how true that is, but I will say I'm very excited because my daughter has now decided that she'll let me start reading book 1 to her at 7 years old. So let's see.
You gave her
See how
the
she
option? Come on now. I didn't give my kid the
Well,
choice.
I would have let her wait
just
till
told
she was
them to do
older.
it.
I want her to really take this
She
seriously.
would
Yeah,
understand it better.
I don't have the illustrated editions or the pop-up, as I call them, editions, but I will. They're just big and bulky.
Yeah.
Nice, Stephen.
Here's some of the
I live in
pop-ups.
a small
I just have the
flat.
first one as a pop-up, but it's very
Yeah.
cool. And like, it's just one of those things. I have small kids, so I have to like keep it hidden from them. I think they'd really enjoy it, but I have to like do it with them
They would
because I
rip it
know
apart.
they would just tear it apart otherwise, But there's some really cool stuff. Like, here's the castle, and it opens up, and so you can see, kind of over here is the where they keep score for the houses and the tower stairs, and so they're really cool. I'd be excited to see what I've seen the others in stores, but I haven't bought them. But it'll be really cool to see number 4.
Last year when they were on sale for some reason after I left the studio tour, when I went with our sister and she brought her son over, and I was, in the Harry Potter hype mode. Also, we were there at the very end of the night, so we kind of had to rush through, which is really sad because there are parts where I just like to hang out there. But in the shop, it was closing, and I was torn between like all this stuff, and Hannah was even like, yeah, just get them. And I couldn't bring myself to spend the money, but it was hard not to buy all 3 right there.
That was the nice thing when there wasn't very much merch, because when you did come across it, you felt more justified in buying it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now it's just like, there's so much stuff. Do I really need?
Well,
Like, you see those cool rooms on TikTok where they have like entire Harry Potter room. And I'm like, I would love that. But I have space for my bookshelf that also has to share with Lord of the Rings a little bit.
one time I bought a bludger and a quaffle set because I was with an employee, and I got 40% off, and they were like real sets, and I wanted to keep them as collector sets, and Steven let the children play with them as if they were just regular play balls, even though it's very hard. Obviously not real leather, but the pleather on the quaffle did not do great.
He put it back in the box.
I didn't know.
But really, now you can get them anywhere, so they weren't really collectors.
Can you?
They're just
No.
Universal.
I'm gonna get.
Right
I don't think
now.
they have them anymore. I'm gonna
Wasn't
get
that one
someone
of
to
the
make
kids' birthdays or something?
They
one
have.
with real leather, and Steven's gonna pay for it. All right, that was expensive. That's the
It's
thing.
a
It was no
dumb
longer
sport anyway, according
useful.
to you guys.
Wasn't that one of the Harry Potter birthdays we did that for, though? We used it. I think it'll get used once. Come on.
I wasn't
For the
even there
children!
to
For
enjoy
the-
it with my nephews
Well,
and nieces.
That's because you weren't there. They needed to seal
Rude.
your presence some
They
way.
didn't know it was from me. Okay. In other little updates, Harry Potter Battle of Hogwarts Puzzles and Spells got an update and has some fun stuff happening. I've never played that. Is that like I think it's like Candy Crush.
It's like,
Yeah, it's like Bejeweled or whatever.
yeah, Bejeweled or Candy Crush.
Bejeweled, I used to think of the game, and now I think of the Taylor Swift song.
Remember how obsessed we were with that game and Collapse for a while?
Yeah.
We'd be on
Oh,
the
I was-
computer. You had to be on the
Collapse,
computer.
yes, I was
Forgot
never
about
into
that
Bejeweled.
one.
Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, another mobile game, is getting a Dark Arts month. So maybe I should play one of those. I mostly just play the one with the guy in the trains. Can't remember what it's called.
We will advertise you mobile games if you would like.
Yeah, sponsor of the podcast. All right, now here's the one that I think looks way cooler than I kind of expected it to, and we kind of have some questions about it. So it's called the Hogwarts Express Adventure, and this is a live interactive activity. So it is going to be hitting the rails in 2026. It's going to be a Hogwarts Express experience, and there's lots of little pictures that show you at the station, but then you will be on a train that seems to have 3D, like not 3D, like fake windows, so as if you're going to Hogwarts, and it is a real moving train. Now, this is being done through a company that does the Polar Express experience. It's actually a company based in Colorado, and they have the experience in Colorado, but they have a few across the states. So the funny thing is they do not announce where this is going to be. So if it was of the whole world in Colorado, that would be cool, and Jamie would have to do it. If it more likely is in a bigger place in the States, then that's lame also, and they should bring it to England where Harry Potter is from. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that kind of like they try and tour, if they can find like exhibition areas, because a lot of places do have like train tour areas where they might be able to bring this.
That's what I was going to say. Like, they say it's going to be on an actual train, so it's going to have to be places. Colorado is good for that. We have the Royal Gorge. We have a lot of things that are set up for events like this, but not a ton of people are going to be able to make it there. Also, this is going to make me incredibly motion sick, but I'm doing it anyway if it comes here.
So I saw a headline the other day that said top 10 train tours in Colorado, and I was like, there's 10. Apparently,
we love our trains. That's
more
how we
than
move
10,
our rocks are not gold.
I think it will be cool. I think they could do it in multiple places at once. I mean, if they can, if it's really a matter of like setting up a train with these, screens through the windows and stuff, like they could outfit multiple places or multiple trains.
Well, they would
and
also
kinda get
need
the
like an
experience.
exterior area to like give you this whole experience, but it's really interesting to see where it is. And then they're doing a big promotional Hogwarts at Christmas thing here, where there's a range of merch and outfits that some of it literally says Hogwarts in the snow, but some of it's just winter style Hogwarts stuff, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like nice merch. I'm not going to buy any of it, but a nice new range of merchandise.
We will accept donations though. If you want to send us merch, we will talk about it on the show.
Yeah,
all day
sponsor us.
Might
Harry
do
Potter?
family matching Christmas pajamas on that or something. Only because I have.
long. Oh, that would be cool.
I've always wanted to make my own Weasley sweater. I'm
Oh.
going to see if my mother-in-law will knit me one for Christmas.
I was going to say, we should do that as a contest. I'll try to knit a sweater and see who makes the best one.
That could be quite rough.
They'll all be South
That would be
size.
hilarious.
You're South. You got 3 sweaters because that's all we got of us.
Anyway, so a lot of, some news about the TV show, and then a lot of just little tidbits in the Wizarding World. But I think you guys are, the perfect observation is that it's clear that they are ramping up some of this stuff. And there's starting to be more Harry Potter out in the ether, as now we're probably a year and a half-ish ahead, more than that, maybe still more than that, a year and a half, you think, ahead of the premiere of this TV show. But they want Harry Potter to be in people's minds and in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And good. The more the better, in my opinion. I love seeing all this stuff about it. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
don't know.
really cool too, though. Well, yeah. At what point do they overdo it and like
It's
people
still
get sick of it?
precious.
That worries me a little bit.
It's precious
And we
to
need to
me.
not
I
mess
think
it
you
up.
guys are making it sound a little more niche than it was. Come on.
Hey, when you first read the books, you could not find a ton of stuff.
The book, yes.
And
but
then
it
when
had-
the movies came out, it was very movie specific stuff.
and the merch was
really-
weak.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's-
will
yeah.
say not really until the amusement park came out was there more stuff. But there were always people making things. Like even pre-Etsy, there were people selling things. And I really do
Yeah, wands.
say to those like small business owners and the people who are creative now, I think they forced this whole realm to up their game in merch. So kudos to them.
Oh, yeah.
I
Totally,
agree.
totally.
Thanks to the small creators, but also thank you to, Universal Comcast for your parks, and Warner Brothers now for ramping this up. But
And if
let's
you
get
wanna
away from the
sponsor?
movies. It is time to get back to the books and a little more into this TV series. Excited to see what's to come.
Well, when it comes to just the announcements, I've talked about this so many times, so sorry for repeating myself. But I think it's so cool, just all the little things that one are going to be added because they have all the extra screen time, right? So how much we're going to see of Professor Binns, arguably, right, in the first season compared to the movies where he never appeared. But like, there's little stuff too, which is that, all of a sudden Professor Binns has a first name. It's Cuthbert or Cuthbert.
I'm pretty sure that
And
was on
we never
Pottermore
learned that
already.
before. Really? Was it? Well, and then even Madame Hooch, her first name it's Rolanda, apparently. And so we didn't
I
know
like
this.
that
So it's
name.
just interesting that they have one is they seem to have access to additional information from J.K. Rowling. And then also like they're adding these folks in and giving us a little bit more than we already had on them. So it does make me excited to see how they can flesh some of that out, how much more of them we're gonna see. Because that's the fun of this, I feel like, with the series is you get to like be in the world longer. They get to kind of build it out. It'll be a little bit more immersive, I hope. I love all those little nuggets of information we're getting. And I hope I'm not, getting my hopes up too high about what they're going to do with it.
Well, I am a little concerned about, I told you guys this the other day that I realized that Mrs. Weasley looks like Peg Bundy in the which,
But
does not give a Mrs. Weasley vibe to me. But, a modernized or whatever, more with it. I don't know. I never imagined Mrs. Weasley trying to be cool, like, kind of a thing. But I was like, who does she remind me of? And it took days and I was like, oh, Peg Bundy.
Well, but also in their defense, right, is like Peg Bundy also looked a lot like what those women looked like in the early 90s, right? The big hair was in.
No, that's what I'm
the red
saying.
hair
I
kinda
don't think
matches.
Molly was trying to keep up in that way. Like, remember, I mean, in the books, those
Yeah,
are the things wizard wizarding folk did not know how to dress like muggles. Like, that's supposed to be a really funny part. But
That's
it's
hilarious.
okay. But I just
Yes.
Well,
realized
and
that
some
in
of
it.
it's a little too retro too. Like the stuff Ginny is wearing with like that knitted whatever like jacket, like in those pictures we saw recently, like that's like late 70s, early 80s type of stuff. So there's almost like
There was
I
a
got a
little
sense that like they're
bit.
behind the times, you know, like there's still a certain amount of delay between, you know, Muggle fashion and what the wizards are doing.
I disagree on that because in the 90s, there was this, like, much now, there's like this whole early aughts when we were in high school kind of fashion comeback. There was a little bit of a 70s thing that came back in the 90s where we did do some of that. And remember, we had
I
all
think
like the
they're
candles
just
and the piece.
going for a bit of like a throwback hodgepodge. Like, I think you're right in Miss Weasley maybe
Homemade.
trying to look modern when she's supposed to kind of be like, you know, really homely and plump and maybe wearing more wizardy stuff or just more plain stuff. But you know what? If they get the story bits right, it's not going to matter.
And at least it's different. I'd rather have different than.
If you ask Christopher Columbus, Hagrid looks just like his Hagrid, even though their costumes were different. Different jackets, different shirts. What are you talking about?
He got played dirty on that because people put out that clip. And that's not what he said. He was actually saying that they're just expanding it, that they're just going to cover more of the books where before he was a little more afraid that they
he thought they were going to change it more when really
but then he's like, oh, they didn't
see.
trade anything.
But which he's wrong about, but
Exactly.
that was the quote that got pulled out and overplayed when he was actually being really kind to the idea of the remake.
Well, and that to me was a little, because I think it's really weird too if they go and like completely change the look of the castle. If you know, like Hogsmeade is completely different look.
A castle can look completely different from the way the castle looked in the movies. Look, Hagrid's costuming. Sure, neither here nor there. Don't care. No, but the castle can look completely different and still be extremely accurate to the books. That's all.
But you look at like the theme parks, right? Are they going to tear down Hogwarts and like rebuild it at some point?
And that's why they're doing
they don't want to add those additional costs for themselves, right? I think they're going to stick with something close.
Yeah, they're going to stick with something close, and that's
it.
the sad part. Is the only motivation is because they don't want to change things like that. There's things already built that are making a lot of money with that look, and so I feel like that's why they're doing that, which kind of sucks because there is a different interpretation. But what he said, he was like, yeah, that's the look we came up with for Hagrid. So it's just interesting that they've taken that. And yes, obviously there's a description of Hagrid, but you could have gone a lot of different
tweaked
directions.
it. I think they tweaked it.
But I still think it should have been more. I'm still a little upset about the Hagrid's look, but it is.
You're mad about Hagrid and Molly. I'm mad about the castle, and we haven't even seen it yet.
Well, but you're right here. But I think it's true. I think it's like we were talking about the casting, right? They're trying to do this balance between like the nostalgia and the look that everybody loved, and then making something fresh and new. So, I mean, I'm just gonna try and give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not going to royally screw it up, and that they'll find that balance. Because like if all the sets and everything look exactly the same, you just have new kids, it's gonna be like, what the heck is going on? So they have to find some way to make it different and original. But I think like the exterior of the castles, I mean, it changed so many times during the movies anyway. They can kind of pick a version, or they can, you know, do their own kind of recreation of that. But I guess I get it. I get why they don't want to completely stray from what already has been done. There's a lot of money saver reasons for that too.
My thought was at least be consistent. Just
with where the HUD is. Okay, I just want to.
Once they start,
thing
lay it out and keep it.
Is Christopher Columbus's filmography after Harry Potter is really weird. Christmas with the Cranks, generic Christmas movie. Rent, a musical about paying your rent in New York. I Love You, Beth Cooper, which is a really weird teen rom-com that I actually kind of enjoyed. Percy Jackson, The Olympians, which was actually a pretty bad adaptation. Pixels,
my son loves Pixels.
The Adam Sandler movie that I've never seen.
I didn't know he did that.
The Christmas Chronicles 2. It's interesting that he stepped in for the sequel. But I want to highlight his most recent one because it just came out last week on Netflix, and I really enjoyed it. It's called The Thursday Murder Club. It's got
I want to watch that.
A stacked cast. Helen Mirren's in it. Ben Kingsley is in it. Who played James Bond in the 90s? Pierce Brosnan is in it. Loaded fun cast. And some Harry Potter actors in there that I will let you discover on your own. Anyway, really fun movie. And
everything he did before Harry Potter, which was pretty good.
Bicentennial Man, Stepmom, Mrs. Doubtfire, Home Alone 2, Home Alone 1.
He wrote on the Goonies. We love the Goonies.
Look, I was just saying his career has been, like, in a good way, it's been very eclectic since.
Yes, it has.
All right. He's a producer on Azkaban.
Well, once you do like big enough stuff, then they get to the point where it's like they're not doing it for money anymore. They're like, I get to pick what I want to do. So if you wanted to do some weird stuff,
but they are all quite like Hollywood fill-in roles. Not, they're not. He's a very specific type of filmmaker.
He's no
Anyway,
Christopher
I
Nolan.
digress.
Yeah.
I like Christopher Columbus's work overall. It's just an
Chris Columbus.
yeah. Sorry, he's not the guy who didn't discover America.
I mean, his real name is Christopher Columbus, but he goes by Chris for that reason.
He probably SAG, the original Christopher Columbus, had the name, so for SAG purposes, he had to be Chris Columbus. All right.
I don't know if
Anyway,
he wants that reputation.
thank you for joining us for our recap of all the big news that came out for the Back to Hogwarts event. Lots of stuff, new experiences coming, new game updates coming, but most of all, of course, casting news and TV show information incoming. And we'll keep you up to date on everything. Keep with us on socials at HPTVPod. And if you want to email us, you can do it to hptvpodcast@gmail.com. Jamie, would you send us out?
Peace out, snitches.